welcome to Cycling Insights presented by L'Etape Australia by Tour de France. This year it's in Kiama, and this year we've also been doing an additional podcast which is about women in cycling. And today I've got the current Australian road champion. She's recently won that crown, Sarah Roy. But rather than me telling you about Sarah Roy, why don't we get another Australian champion? I think she's won it 3 times in Buninyong. Amanda Spratt, perhaps you can tell us about Sarah Roy before we hear from her.
Yeah, sure. Sarah Roy, I've been teammates with her for many years now. For me, she's the kind of rider that everyone wants in a team. She's a super teammate. You always know you can trust her. I put my trust into her. Many of my victories and results have come as a result of the hard work that she has done. Her in herself is such a great rider. She can win a bunch of sprints. She can get over those hilly races. She's just a pleasure to work with. And I think also off the bike, someone that's always making everyone smile and really bringing up the morale in the team. So both on and off the bike, one of the best teammates you could ask for.
And she's got an incredible story. It wasn't a simple path for Sarah to make it through to Australia's biggest team at Bike Exchange. She did a lot of it the hard way, and she's overcome plenty of injuries. Let's hear from her now. Here she is, Australian champion, Sarah Roy. The new Australian road champion, Sarah Roy. How does that sound?
Pretty incredible. Not something that I thought would really happen, to be honest. But I like it.
Yeah, well, the beauty of it is now, no matter what happens for the rest of your career, you'll have those green and gold bands at the very least around the sleeve of your jersey.
Yeah, that's true. That's a super cool little aspect of cycling that I love, I think. Yeah, it's really nice.
As a commentator, I love that tradition as well because it makes it a lot easier for us to identify riders in the peloton and say the person we're talking about is Sarah Roy. She's the Australian road champion, or in a couple of years' time, it might be there's Sarah Roy, former Australian road champion. So it's always going to be easy to spot you.
Yeah, it is hard to spot people out in the peloton these days. We're talking about our new kit. That's not as doesn't stand out as well as our previous one, but getting helmets and things like that you'd like to have a bright colour on them, and so you can pick people out. Or even some of the riders, I know Spratty has been bullied a little bit by her family or friends for wearing these bright blue shoes, but they're actually that don't match the kit at all, but they stand out in the peloton. So yeah, they're good for teammates to see who's behind you and who's around you, and then for your family to watch on TV. So yeah, little things like that do help to spot riders out.
For a long time, Mitch Docker wore really bright red shoes, and I protested when he changed those shoes because it always made it easier to say, there's Mitch Docker on the rider screen with the red shoes.
Yeah. I've got these fluoro pink ones that I haven't set up yet, but I think they help as well. But, not going to say definitely help bands on my arms either.
So let's take us back to Buninyong. And in the morning, what was the plan for the day for you?
My plan, my role for the team and my plan was to be in a break, not to force a break, but to follow other riders that were trying to create a break, and for me to be there. So yeah, that was my plan, and we'll just go from there. And I knew that whatever happened in the break, that my teammates behind Grace Brown and Lucy Kennedy especially were in good shape to follow anything from behind and have a good race from back there. So that was my goal for the day, just get in the break and see.
And at what point did it go from just getting the break and see to, Sarah's our protected rider and Sarah can win? Yeah,
it's interesting. I actually watched the footage myself, the full replay of the race. And I know that you're a commentator with Robbie McEwen and Brady O'Donnell. And a couple of comments coming from Robbie were, the team has obviously, said to Sarah that she can do this, or the team has obviously said. And the thing with nationals is we don't have any radios, so there's no communication to the team. And just we had a different DS this year at nationals that we haven't worked with in the past, and so I didn't actually communicate with him until 2.5 laps to go. So the first time that I had any communication with the team was after the race. I was already solo. So yeah, for the girls behind, we've debriefed a lot about the race, which is always really fun. And they've told me that there was a point in time where they weren't sure if I was out in front solo or dropped by myself behind. So they did have to send Jessica Allen back to the team car. So she put her hand up at the back of the peloton and went back to the team car and spoke to Dave Sanders, our DS, and asked, where is Sarah? Where is she? What's she doing? And he said, no, she's off the front. She's good. So then Jess went back to the peloton and told Grace and Lucy that everything was okay. And yeah, so they read a board from another rider in the race whose family was giving them information on a whiteboard on the side of the road, and it had said Roy 1 minute and an arrow down, and so they didn't know how to read that. It wasn't for them, but seeing that, just they had confidence that I was okay, that I was out front, but then they saw that and they're like, oh, we better just check. But apart from that, I think from whatever information that they could get from the side of the road, they were backing me in. Probably as soon as the break got to 1.5 to 3 minute gap, I think they were pretty comfortable with me up there, just with the composition of the break, which made the race good for me, which is part of road cycling, having that luck on your side.
And on the topic of good, how good was it riding the last kilometre down into Buninyong, knowing that you had it all sewn up?
Yeah, it was pretty special. It's pretty, I don't know, like an overwhelming feeling. I think you could see me just shaking my head, like in a bit of disbelief. Yeah, it's just one of those races you always want to win. And I've been a professional cyclist now for 7 or 8 years, and it's just never been on the tips of my fingers to ever accomplish this. So yeah, for it to be happening, I was just like, it's not happening. It can't be. What's going on? But yeah, it was pretty awesome.
One of the things you spoke about after the race, I think you might have mentioned it, and you've mentioned it in the past as well, is sometimes lacking the confidence and the absolute self-belief in just how good you really are. And I said in the commentary, I think at some point, that this could be a game changer for you to realise just how good you really are. Does it feel like that?
In a way, I think there's I'm not sure if everybody who knows me fully understands that I've had this artery issue in my leg for quite some time. And it's a funny condition because it's not very consistent. So there would be times in my career over the last 5 years where I have a standout ride, and it's easy to think, well, why doesn't she ride like that all the time? But I'm usually battling something on the inside of my body that I can't control, and that's just that artery condition where it's constricting the blood flow to my muscles in my legs, and it's not something that you can push through. So I do. I push as hard as I can, but sometimes you just fall up short and you can't produce the power. You can't produce the power. I mean, you need oxygen. It's a pretty important part of the equation.
Yeah.
So yeah, without it, it is tricky.
You had surgery on that last year.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't race the national championships last year.
Yeah. So even in that period, in that 5-year period, even when, say there's a day where it's not an issue, does it still play on the back of your mind thinking that it might pop up, that this, it might appear 60, 70 kilometres to go, and it just creates a little bit of hesitation?
No, it's definitely not something that can pop up in the middle of a day. I will already know before the race whether it's going to be okay or not. Yeah. Or, early into the race, I can sort of tell.
You'll work it out pretty quickly. And getting blood and oxygen to your leg muscles is kind of important as a cyclist.
Yeah, yeah, you need that.
So when's your first race in Europe?
February 27th, we'll be racing Het Nieuwsblad in Belgium. So first Cobble Classics starts next weekend.
And a race that suits you. How cool is it going to be to front up on the start line and get introduced in Ghent at the start of the race as the Australian National Road Champion?
Yeah, that's not something I thought about, actually. So that's what you've got to do, isn't it? When you you start on the front.
You start on the front, and as a commentator, if a team comes up and you're not sure which one to pick, which one to interview, and somebody comes up in a national champions jersey, you're going to get targeted by the person that's the MC at that event. That's the commentator.
Yeah. So true. I better not be late to the start. We'll make it to the front. But no, that'll be super cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
How important are those sorts of races to you? Because you've got fantastic results last year at Gent Wevelgem and the Tour of Flanders, and I see you as a one-day classic specialist.
Yeah, I see myself as that too, and it's only from last year getting those consistent results in the classics where I can really start to believe it. They're not easy races to make the final in, and to make the final in just about all of them shows that there's something there, and it's just got to make the next little bit happen, and so yeah, I'm pretty excited for them, and it's been a long journey to get to this point, to be able to crack them and to be able to be in the final. Often my goal is just to try to make the final, and sometimes I can't even do that. So, yeah, for that to happen last year so consistently gives me a lot of confidence, and really looking forward to them this year. I'm not scared of them, so it's a start.
Yeah, and there's a new one this year. You'll finally get to ride Pararoo Bay. And what I can tell you in terms of the broadcast of that, the broadcast will go from kilometre zero, and on SBS we'll be covering the race from 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time right through to the finish at 9 p.m. So it will be prime time.
That's unreal. Yeah, Pararoo Bay. Can't wait. We were all set to go last year and it was looking good. And just 1 week before the event, they cancelled it. We'd done some recon last year and I felt amazing flying over the cobbles there. The cobbles are especially rough and bumpy and pretty hectic. So that's like what it's known for, the hell of the north, I suppose. But I was really looking forward to it. So yeah, I'm excited for this year too.
Look, I was on a group ride recently with a bunch of middle-aged men in Lycra, the classic mammal group, and one of them was talking about Pararoo Bay and saying that he'd ridden down the laneways in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, and how can the cobbles be much worse than that? And I almost fell off my bike, Sarah. They're totally the ones in northern France are a totally different breed, and they make the ones in Belgium look smooth.
Yeah. Oh, they do. They do. And I guess it's not something you can really get a grasp of by watching on the footage. Like, yeah, I don't know. They need to zoom in on or do the slow motion where you can just see like all the skin and muscles just like vibrating over the bumps.
And watch the chain and the derailleur and everything bouncing around. And to try and give this guy a little bit of context, I spoke to him. David McKenzie did the Grand Fondo of Roubaix a couple of years ago. And David McKenzie was a world-class bike rider. Won a stage at Giro d'Italia. He won an Australian road title, etc. When he was riding through the Arenberg forest, he got off his bike, lifted it over the barricade so he could ride the smooth part. He'd had enough by halfway through it.
Yeah, they are full on, and you need good equipment, I think, and that's something we're very lucky with now. 2021, it's pretty hard to come by some bad equipment, I suppose. So, and on this team, we're riding the Bianchis now. Yeah, so looking forward to that. Should be good.
Are you a bit of a tech nerd at all? I'm not,
no.
But I love the history of some brands.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty bad actually. Don't know a lot about bikes or equipment, but I know how they feel. So if I get on a bike, I can tell you the difference between one to the other, and I know what I like when I ride something and it feels good. But I don't. Other than that, I don't really know what's going on.
But all you need to know is which way to steer to go to the finish line first.
Yeah, that's it.
So if you could pick one race off the calendar in 2021, which would it be to win?
Well, in 2021, we have the World Championships in the Flanders region. So that's a big one. I mean, imagine winning the World Champs. That would be so cool. I would love that. Yeah. I've been asked this question already. Somebody asked this, if I could win one more race this year, what would it be? And there's so many. This year's a really great year of opportunity for me as an individual, but to have the World Championships in an area and on a course that suits me is pretty rare. It's been probably 5 years since the course has actually suited me, and now to actually be in, the best physical ability that I've ever been in. I've been to World Championships where the course has suited me, but I've been quite new and inexperienced. But now I'm ready to go. I'm ready. And mentally and physically, I'm ready to win. I think sometimes you can be a talented rider, but mentally you're not ready to win. So yeah, this year is a big one, but world champs. I'm excited for that.
It'd be nice to pull a rainbow jersey over the top of the Australian champions jersey. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what's the vibe like? What's the vibe like at the World Championships for the women's team in particular? It's predominantly made up of riders from the Bike Exchange team, but then you get a few that are outside that team. Triff Cromwell's a prime example. What's the vibe like at a World Championships riding for the national team rather than riding for your trade team, which you do every weekend or every week?
Yeah, it is. It's unusual that you become teammates suddenly for one race a year with people that you're normally competing against. But I think last year and for a couple of years up till last year, we had a technical road director in Brad McGee, and he was a really great leader for Australian cycling, I believe, and he changed the culture or created opportunities for us to work together and train together at other times throughout the year, besides just the world champs. So he organised a training camp in Livigno one year, and so there was probably 15 Australian women there, and it was a great opportunity to learn and share information. And we had the physiologist Eric Huckinson there too, and yeah, just to hang out together and get to know each other and support each other, because often there's some Australian riders that are super talented but in sort of not world tour teams, and they don't have quite the same support that a team like Bike Exchange would have. And these riders live maybe alone in a country or area in Europe where they may feel a bit isolated. And so just to spend time with their fellow Aussies, really lifts their spirits for the rest of the year. And I think with that, it has created a bit more of a bond between all of the Australian women, and we are quite professional as well, and fun people. I think at the moment we have a really great group of girls, and so now we've all been around for a while too now, and so we actually we work really well together, and we have a lot of respect for each other. Everyone has their funny quirks and their strengths and weaknesses, but yeah, when we get together for the world champs, it's always a good time and a lot of respect, and we know when to be serious and professional, and then when we can switch off and have a good time and take the piss out of each other. So it's actually a really great vibe.
All right, well, I've got a little bit of intel on you, and this is courtesy. This will make you a little nervous, from Dan Jones.
Okay.
So Dan tells me that on the Sunday after you won the race and then Cam Meyer won the race, so Bike Exchange have got both Australian champions jerseys, that as the night was getting on, they were heading out to do a little bit of extras after dark. You ghosted them and went back to the hotel to get some sleep, and he wrote #professional.
Oh, no. No, I was hoping no one would see me. That's actually so funny. That's so embarrassing. It's like the backwards walk of shame or something where I shouldn't feel ashamed, but I did. So,
no, the opposite. I think it's really good. I liked it. I thought that was really good because you're thinking about the next target, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone had gone out in the town, and I jumped in the Uber with everyone, and we got to the next location, and it looked like it was going to be a good time. And I just looked around, just going, I'm not feeling it. I'm not up for this today. And I've got a lot coming up, so I just got out of there. I got the Uber back to the hotel, and as I was getting back out of the Uber and walking into the front entrance of the hotel, Dan Jones and a couple of others are standing there going, hang on a minute, where are you going? And I'm like, oh,
what are you doing?
Back to bed. But it was already quite early in the morning by that stage, so I had a good celebration for sure. But yeah, a couple of them can kick on for sure. Those guys are pretty good at having a good time. But yeah, there was a lot coming up, and I mean, I was on the plane to Europe on the Tuesday, so it was pretty quick turnaround, and into training camp here in Girona with our classics group. So from one thing to the next.
Well, I think you should be proud of that decision. And it reminds me of an interview that I saw with Patrick Mouratoglou, who is the coach of Serena Williams, amongst others. And he was asked the question, what does Serena do to celebrate when she wins a Grand Slam? And he said, well, she has dinner with her team, puts the Grand Slam in her pocket and moves on to the next one. And that's why she's got 23.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So it's the spot on attitude. Take us back to the start. How did you get involved in cycling?
I actually fell in love with the track. So I was watching Anna Meares on the track at the Olympics one year, I think. And I really wanted to do that. But I got into triathlon. So I have to admit, I was a triathlete at one point. And the club that I was riding for got an email or a letter from the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, and they were looking for to create a talent ID program for women to do time trialing. And so I came through the same program as Bridie O'Donnell. And that's when I first started dabbling in a bit of cycling, but I kept doing triathlon because I felt I hadn't reached all my goals there yet and I wasn't ready to switch over. But then in 2009 or 10, I made the full switch to cycling, and I raced for Australia in the Tour of Qatar in 2010. And yeah, it was awesome. I remember throwing up on my bike because I pushed myself so hard, and it's pretty hectic over there because it's windy and there's sand everywhere, and they've got these giant cat eyes in the middle of the road, and people are crashing into those, trying to, like get themselves into the echelon away from the headwind. And so it was a pretty brutal introduction into sort of professional style racing. But from there, unfortunately, I had to take 2 years out of the sport because I had a knee injury that wasn't getting better, and I had to get knee surgery. And anyway, that took forever to come back from. But 4 years later, from 2010, when I represented Australia at the Tour of Qatar, I won the national criterium, which was another surprise for everybody, I think. And that year in 2014 was my first professional contract with a French team in Europe. And I got that because in 2013, I took myself to Holland and did some racing over there by myself. I just did some fundraisers and had a bit of support from the local bike shop, Park Bikes in Sydney Olympic Park. And I won some races over there, and it was really cool because every race you do, you win money. So you paid for the groceries and everything that way. Yeah, it's so good. You can come 20th and you still win 20 euros, and you race 3 times a week. That's plenty of money. So, but yeah, just winning races there, I got noticed and I got offered a contract. So, then that's how it all started for me. And 2015 was offered a contract for Green Edge, and I haven't looked back.
That experience of going over on your own as an independent in 2013 to the Netherlands, and then with the French team, how much stronger do you think that makes you now that you are in the big Aussie team?
Yeah, I think it's a great experience to start off that way, for sure. I mean, I'm here because I really, really want it. And, I've worked really hard to be here. And in a way, that can be my weakness as well. I can be quite hard on myself, or get quite disappointed, or feel, hard done. Well, no, I never feel hard done by. But you do feel that you've worked really, really hard for this. So I think then winning races like the Nationals means so much. Like, it's been quite difficult for me to get to this point. It hasn't been a smooth run. Hasn't been easy by any means. But so I think going through that way, I've learned a lot about myself. And it gives me insight as well, to be able to help other riders, to show them that there are pathways into professional cycling that they might not realise. It's difficult at the moment with COVID, but surely, we'll return to a bit more of a normal situation, and they can get back to doing things and travelling again, and making a career happen in cycling like I did. But the experience on the French team was tough. I mean, they didn't speak any English, obviously. So to learn another language, enough of another language to speak only with that the whole year was, I think it's made me a really well-rounded person. And I'm really proud of the relationships that I made with the Frenchies too. They continually ask me back to their team, and I still have good relationships with them, and it's really special to me with the DS, with the doctor, with the team manager, with most of the riders, and we all keep in touch. And I hear from these people when I have good races like I did at Nationals as well. And so it's really special, and I think it's definitely made me a stronger person, that's for sure, to go through that way.
But I think those experiences put you in a really strong place to support the next generation of Australians coming through. Do you think you'll stay involved in cycling after you stop racing? Because based on what I've just heard, from an Australian cycling perspective, I really hope so.
Yeah, I think I would like to. Like, I've started coaching a number of people, and I really enjoy the mentor side of it. So yeah, I think it's a rewarding sport to be involved in, and I can see that there's still areas of improvement that I would really like to sort of help out with and see it grow and grow. And I do love it. So I don't know what sort of avenue I'll take, and it is time to start thinking about that because I have been at the professional level for about 8 years now. So soon enough, I'll have to make a decision on what to do next. And I don't know for sure just yet, but I'm not stressed about it. I've also got my sports degree under my belt, and I'm currently doing my clinical master in clinical physiology. So I'm working on some stuff, but no exact plan yet. But I think that's pretty typical of me, and then things will just fall into place. It'll be okay.
Well, I'm confident they're going to be okay, because at the table of life, you've got plenty of cards to play.
Yeah. I think I've got some good experiences now, and I really like sharing my experience, and I like helping people and showing them that there's other ways, and that, that they're tougher than they think they are.
Yeah. On toughness, I want to just go back a couple of steps to your baptism of fire at the Tour of Qatar. I have had the privilege of commentating on the Tour of Qatar a few times, and it is one of the scariest races I have ever commentated on, because it is full gas from start to finish. You mentioned the cat's eyes on the road. There's always massive crosswinds, and it's super fast. It is a really dangerous race. Do you ever get scared?
I do. Yeah. Cycling can be really scary at times. And I mean, even also being involved in the sprint finals, like, they are chaotic and people are crazy. They'll do crazy things and, ride quite desperately or dangerously and selfishly. You need to have some sort of edge on yourself to be a cyclist, but I think you can develop it as well. So it's not something you need to start out with. But yeah, I do get scared, and I think it's just part of your personal development as well, being able to cope with the nerves and with the fear and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even from a commentary perspective, I watch sprint finishes and you see the overhead shots and you see how fast you're going, the movements you make. I get scared for you. So it is perfectly normal that if you're in that position, it's okay to get scared every now and then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. But I guess, it is a skill, and I think that's part of why cycling is so, I don't know, amazing, and draws so many sort of fans as well, and participants, because it is thrilling. It's thrilling to watch, and it's thrilling to be a part of, and I guess sort of attracts adrenaline junkies in a way. But yeah, there's so many aspects to cycling, racing, the fear, but the joy, and just the beautiful places it takes you. There's so much to it.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're preaching to the converted here. I love all those elements of it. And there's something about those races where you're at your best. And like Ghent-Wevelgem last year and the Tour of Flanders, when it's wet and it's miserable, somehow when you're in the comfort of your own lounge room or a commentary box, there's a romance to that as well in telling the tale afterwards, and they make for the best photos.
Yeah. I do love talking about debriefing with my teammates and stuff about little stories and things that happen within races. It's part of, super fun. But it's really good.
Yeah. Well, you've got a big year ahead. You're going to be wearing the green and gold bands for the next 12 months. I was delighted to see you win that race. I'm aware of some of the struggles that you've been through, but to learn more about that journey and the 2-year break and your resilience to come through, you're an inspiration to the next generation of Australian cyclists. Congratulations on everything you've done so far, and we can't wait to see what comes next.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
So that was Sarah Roy. I hope you enjoyed hearing from her. I really enjoyed listening to the story about the road to get there, the race in Qatar, the challenge with the knee injury that had her out of the sport for 2 years, then funding her own way to the Netherlands, riding with the small French team, and then stepping up to Australia's biggest team that we now refer to as Bike Exchange. And then this year, the crowning moment, winning the Australian National Champions jersey, and she will wear that proudly in Europe. She had some close calls in the classics last year, like Flanders and also Ghent-Wevelgem, and I think she can win one this year, so let's follow her closely. Thanks for listening to Cycling Insights, the L'Etape Australia by Tour de France podcast, and don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to us, and please leave a review and recommend us to your friends. It makes a big difference to us on the podcast. We'll see you on the road.